Have you ever recited the Heart Sutra countless times that still felt no closer to true peace? Have you ever wondered if there's more to Buddhist practice than repeating mantras and burning incense? Welcome back to the channel, where we don't just talk about Buddhism. We live it, question it, and dive into its deepest layers to discover meaning. Today's journey begins with a single word that is so simple, so subtle, yet so powerful that it holds within it the entire essence of Buddhist practice. The word is Guan. Guan, meaning to observe, contemplate, or more deeply, insightful awareness. The very first word of the Heart Sutra in the phrase Guan Zizai Pusa is not just a poetic opener, it is a mere gateway, method, realization. In this video, we'll explore why this word is not only the key to understanding the Heart Sutra, but also the heart of spiritual transformation itself. So, settle in, because we are about to embark on a 30,000-word deep dive into the art of seeing, not with your eyes, but with your wisdom. Most people believe that Buddhist practice starts with rituals, with chanting sutras, bowing to statues, attending temples. But what if that's not where the journey truly begins? What if those practices are just tools, and the real beginning is much more personal, much more internal? Imagine this: every single day, thousands, even millions of people across the world recite the Heart Sutra. They whisper or chant the lines over and over, in temples, on buses, in quiet rooms at night. But how many of them ever stop at the very first word and ask, what exactly am I being invited to do? Guan Zizai, often translated as the Bodhisattva of Avalokiteshvara, while practicing deeply the perfection of wisdom. But those words are more than a title. Guan is the beginning of awakening, means to observe, not just passively, but with radical clarity, not just looking, but seeing through. It is not about focusing on a candle. It is not about visualizing a deity. It is about turning the light inward, observing the mind itself, the patterns of thought, the illusions of identity, the structure of suffering. When you Guan, you are not escaping the world, you are studying it with awakened eyes. Let's start at the core. Why is Guan placed first? Because without observation, nothing else follows. Without the capacity to witness your own thoughts, your own desires, your own suffering, you can chant a million sutras and it would still be empty. You would still be lost in delusion. The phrase Guan Zizai can also be interpreted as the one who contemplates deeply and thus attains freedom. Zizai means freedom, ease, naturalness. But notice, freedom is not the starting point. It's the result. It comes after deep observation. In other words, only when you truly Guan can you truly be Zizai. Only when you stop running from your mind and instead turn around and face it with compassion, with curiosity, can you begin to untangle its knots. Let's look at the practical implications of this. You wake up in the morning and feel a vague sense of anxiety. You grab your phone, check social media, turn on the news. The anxiety grows. You know why? Because you never Guan'd it. You never sat with the feeling and asked, where did this come from? Is it a real threat or a passing shadow? What thought is feeding it? What belief does it rest on? Without Guan, you are dragged by your emotions, enslaved by your patterns. But with Guan, you become free, not because life changes, but because your relationship to life changes. You begin to see, truly see, the impermanence of things. You notice how desire rises and falls, how anger flares and fades, how the self you defend so fiercely is actually just a collection of fleeting sensations and thoughts. This is why the Heart Sutra says, Zhao Jian Wu Yan Ji Kong, clearly see that the 5 aggregates are empty. The 5 aggregates form sensation, perception, mental formations, consciousness are the building blocks of the ego of suffering, but until you Guan, you are imprisoned by them. Once you Zhao Jians observe deeply, you see their emptiness. And what happens next? Do ye kui hun thus transcend all suffering. Now ask yourself, how many times have you heard that line and thought it sounded beautiful but far away, as if it were a promise for saints and sages, not for you? But the sutra is speaking to you. It is not a metaphor, it is a map. The first step, Guan. Let's dive into what it means to truly Guan in different aspects of life. So let's continue unfolding this story, not just of a word, but of a path, because Guan is not something you do once, it's a way of living, a constant return to presence, a discipline of attention that slowly becomes a state of being. When you Guan your emotions, you begin to notice how easily your peace is shattered by small things, word from a friend, delay in traffic, the unexpected expense. You watch as irritation arises, but instead of reacting, you pause, you breathe, you stay with the sensation. You ask, is this truly a threat or just a ripple on the surface of the mind? That moment, that pulse is the beginning of freedom. The moment you shift from being in the emotion to watching the emotion, you are practicing Guan, and in that gap, wisdom enters. Let's take this even deeper. To Guan is to stop being the actor and become the audience. You're no longer swept up in the drama. You're sitting in the theater, observing the stage. You see the roles being played, the victim, the hero, the critic, the child. You watch them switch masks, shout lines, chase applause, and then you realize none of them are truly you. You've been all of them. And yet, none of them can define you. This realization doesn't make you passive, it makes you powerful. Because when you stop identifying with your roles, you gain the ability to choose your responses. Let's say someone insults you. Before, your reaction might have been immediate, anger, defense, retaliation, but now, with Guan, you see the insult as just sound waves. You observe your body reacting. The tightness in your chest, the clenching of your jaw. You observe the mind-forming thoughts. How dare they? I should say something back. But you don't move. You just watch. And in that watching, the fire cools. You realize this person's words are not about you. They are projections of their own suffering, and so you meet their pain with compassion, not hatred. This is Guan in action. This is the difference between being a slave to karma and being its master. Let's talk about relationships. How often do you find yourself repeating the same conflicts over and over? Different people, same story. You attract someone emotionally unavailable, where you get attached too quickly, or you feel unseen, unappreciated. The names change, the faces change, but the pain stays the same. Because the story hasn't been observed, it's been reenacted. But when you Guan, you step out of the pattern, you journal your feelings, you notice the voice in your head that says, I'm not enough, or they'll leave me, or I need to fix them to be loved, and instead of obeying that voice, you investigate it. Where did it come from? Is it true? What would life be like without it? This process is not intellectual, it's deeply embodied. Guan means feeling where the belief lives in your body. Is it a knot in your stomach, pressure in your throat, dull ache in your heart? You sit with it, you breathe into it, you stay with it until it dissolves or reveals a deeper layer. This is how real transformation happens, not through force, but through observation. not by trying to be perfect, but by becoming intimate with your imperfections. Let's move now to the spiritual dimension. The Heart Sutra, Guan, leads to Zhaojie and Muyan Ji Kong, clearly seeing the emptiness of the five skandhas. But what does emptiness mean? It doesn't mean nothingness. It means nothingness, that everything is interdependent, impermanent, and devoid of a fixed self. When you Guan deeply, you see that your body is constantly changing, cells dying and regenerating, sensations rising and falling. You see that your thoughts are not solid, they come and go like clouds. You see that the high you cling to is just a bundle of memories, preferences, and social roles. And then something remarkable happens. You stop taking things so personally. You stop obsessing over what people think. You stop fearing failure. You stop needing to be right, because you realize there is no fixed you to defend. This realization is not depressing. It's liberating. Like a bird released from a cage, you find space to breathe, to play, to love, to create. You begin to live with less fear, more presence. This presence is the foundation of compassion. When you Guan your own suffering, you naturally become more sensitive to the suffering of others. You no longer judge them harshly because you've seen how complex the mind is. You know how easy it is to act out of fear, how hard it is to stay open in the face of pain. So your heart softens, your words become gentler, your actions become more skillful. You begin to live not for yourself, but from yourself, from the deep, clear well of presence that Guan reveals. Now, let's explore how to cultivate Guan in daily life. You don't need a monastery. You don't need robes or rituals. You need attention. You need intention. Start with the breath, not controlling it, observing it. Feel the air enter and leave your nostrils. Feel your chest rise and fall. Do this for 5 minutes a day. That's all, but do it with everything you've got. Let your breath be your teacher. Next, observe your thoughts. Sit in silence and watch them pass like traffic. Don't chase them. Don't resist them. Just watch. Label them if you like. Thinking, judging, remembering. This builds meta-awareness, the ability to see the mind without being entangled in it. Then take Guan into your interactions. Before you speak, pause. Ask yourself, is what I'm about to say kind? Is it necessary? Is it true? If not, maybe silence is the better offering. Observe your habits. Do you eat mindlessly, scroll endlessly, act impulsively? Guan means becoming aware of these patterns, not with shame, but with curiosity. Why do I do this? What am I avoiding? What am I seeking? And finally, observe your suffering. Not to dwell in it, but to understand it. What triggers it? What stories fuel it? What identities are you clinging to that make pain feel personal? The more you Guan, the more you begin to untangle the knots of karma. You stop reacting from past wounds. You start responding from present awareness. Let's take a breath here. You've absorbed a lot already, but we are just beginning, because the depth of Guan is infinite. It is the seat of every wisdom tradition. It is the gateway to every spiritual breakthrough. Is the moment when the seeker disappears and only seeking remains. You see, Guan is not something you achieve, it is something you return to, again and again. Joy and sorrow, silence and chaos, loneliness and love. It is the art of coming home, to yourself, to the present, to the truth that was always there. And when you live from this place, everything changes. Let's now explore a profound truth. The way you Guan, the way you observe, determines the quality of your life, not your circumstances, not your possessions, Not your achievements, but your observation. How you see things is what creates your world. Let's take an example. Imagine two people walking in a storm. One curses the sky, clenches their fists, and complains about the injustice of getting soaked. The other looks up, notices the rhythm of the rain, feels its coolness on their skin, and breathes it in as part of life. The storm is the same, but the Guan is different. In this contrast, you see the power of perception. And in Buddhism, perception isn't passive, it's karmic. How you perceive the world reflects the lenses of your own mind, lenses shaped by attachment, aversion, and ignorance. But when you bring Guan into the process, those lenses begin to dissolve. You start to perceive without distortion, to witness without reacting, to exist in awareness without ego interference. This, in the deepest sense, is Guan Zizai, the Bodhisattva who observes with complete freedom. Let's break that down even further. Zizai means freedom, but not the freedom to do whatever you want. Means the freedom to not be ruled by what you want. It is the freedom from craving, not the freedom to crave. It is the ease that rises when you are no longer controlled by desire, by fear, by image. This is the real fruit of Guan, a mind that is clear, a heart that is calm, and a life that flows. Now, let's talk about pain. Because life will still bring suffering, loved ones will die, health will fade, dreams will break. This is the nature of samsara, the endless cycle of birth and death. But here's what Guan changes: suffering no longer defines you. You begin to observe pain not as punishment, but as a teacher. You sit with grief, you feel it fully, you let it move through you without resistance, and in the middle of that darkness, you find a strange light. The light of truth, the truth that everything rises and passes, that nothing is fixed, that even heartbreak can be sacred. This is what the Heart Sutra means when it says form is emptiness, emptiness is form. It's not just a riddle, it's a map. It tells you that everything you see, your body, your mind, your world, is both real and not real. It exists, but it does not exist independently. It's all part of a vast interdependent dance. And you are not outside the dance. You are not a separate observer. You are the dance itself, becoming aware of its own motion. This awareness is not cold. It's not detached. It's deeply alive. Which brings us to the next stage of Guan, compassion. Because when you observe yourself deeply, your flaws, your fears, your contradictions, you develop empathy. You see how hard it is to be human, how easy it is to get lost, how brave it is to keep going. And then you look at others, and you realize they're just like you. You see the person yelling not as an enemy, but as someone in pain. You see the person who betrayed you not as evil, but as confused. You see the stranger on the street not as a background character, but as a soul in their own unfolding drama. And you respond, not from judgment, but from love. This is where Buddhism goes beyond personal healing. It becomes a path of service. Because to truly Guan is to see the suffering of the world and to let it break your heart open. You start asking, how can I help? How can I ease this pain? How can I bring light into this darkness? The answer is never abstract. It's not about grand gestures. It's about how you show up in the grocery store, in your family, in your workplace. It's about how you speak, how you listen, how you love. When your observation is rooted in wisdom and compassion, every moment becomes sacred. Let's take a moment now to ground all of this. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what am I running from? What am I clinging to? What stories have I been telling myself that no longer serve me? Can I observe these with gentleness, without judgment? This is your practice. This is your liberation. Because Guan is not a theory, it is a revolution of perception. It is the doorway between sleep and awakening. And you don't need to wait. You don't need to be a monk. You don't need to have perfect discipline. You just need to begin. Begin now. Observe the breath. Observe the mind. Observe the moment. Let it all be as it is, and let your awareness be the alchemy that transforms it. This is the power of the first word of the Heart Sutra. Not just Guan as in watching, but Guan as in awakening. Guans that pierces illusion. Guan that leads to freedom. Guan that is the seed of enlightenment. And now, let us carry this awareness into the world. As we come to the end of this journey, take a moment and breathe with me. You've walked through thousands of words, not just concepts, but living teachings, not just philosophy, but practice. You've come face to face with the power of one single word, Guan. Not just a word at the beginning of a sacred text, but the essence of awakening itself. It is observation. It is awareness. It is the quiet revolution of seeing what truly is. He started with the question, why does the Heart Sutra begin with Guan? And now, perhaps you feel the answer, not just intellectually, but in your bones. Because if you don't learn to Guan, you will keep repeating. You will keep suffering. You will keep chasing peace and never find it. Not because it isn't there, but because you're looking without seeing. But if you learn to Guans, even just a little, even just once a day, you begin to awaken. You begin to soften. You begin to return to yourself, to the moment, to the truth behind the illusions. And this changes everything. Not overnight, not magically, but deeply, widely, reversibly. You begin to see suffering not as a punishment, but as a messenger. You begin to see others not as threats, but as fellow travelers. You begin to see the Heart Sutra not as ancient scripture, but as a mirror reflecting your own path. So where do you go from here? You return to practice. You Guan your breath when you're anxious. You Guan your judgments when they rise. You Guan your craving when it hugs you. You Guan your sadness, your joy, your numbness, your hope. You make every moment your teacher. And slowly, you become the Bodhisattva of Avalokiteshvara, not because you've memorized the sutra, but because you're living it with your breath, with your presence, with your heart. And that is the real miracle. So I invite you now to share in the comments, what did this video awaken in you? What are you beginning to observe more clearly in your life? What's one area where you've been asleep that you're ready to wake up to? Let's grow this conversation together. And if this resonated with you, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who might need this message. Your support helps us continue making content that doesn't just inform, but transforms. Thank you for walking this path with me. Thank you for choosing awareness. Thank you for watching this video.
Before you leave, here's something special. In Buddhism, we believe that every encounter carries a deeper meaning. Would you like to discover your true soul connection, the one written into your destiny? Take the Soulmate Test today and unveil the hidden truths of your journey. Click the link below and begin your path now. http://soulmate. You wisdom more, come, white.